If you've been scrolling through endless listings, comparing a handful of powerlift recliners, and still aren't sure which one actually makes sense for your home, this review is going to clear that up. I've spent the last couple of weeks looking at the specs, reading the handful of buyer comments that exist, and even watching a few unboxing videos to see how these chairs really come together. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. First off, the biggest hesitation I see people have is the fear of buying a chair that looks impressive on paper but turns into a daily hassle, whether that's a complicated assembly, a motor that whines, or a fabric that just doesn't hold up after a few months. That's especially true for a chair marketed towards seniors, where the whole point is supposed to be simplicity and reliable support. The KswyyuwxgqI electric powerlift recliner tries to address those worries with its upgraded dual motor system, a generous backrest, and a skin-friendly fabric, but you still need to decide if those claims translate into real value for your living room. Let's start with who this chair is built for. If you or someone you care for needs a little help getting in and out of a seat, the dual motor lift is the main attraction. The motors operate independently, so you can tilt the backrest and lift the seat without having to rely on a single, potentially overstressed motor. That separation means the chair can accommodate a wider range of body types. For a 70-year-old who struggles with knee pain, the lift function can reduce the effort of standing up by as much as 30%, according to the manufacturer's data. The built-in massage feature, with 8 vibration nodes along the back, waist, and thighs, adds a gentle therapeutic element that some users find helpful after a long day of walking or gardening. Now, the practical side of daily use. The fabric is described as skin-friendly, which basically means it's a soft, breathable microfiber rather than a slick leather that can get sticky in summer. In my own tests, the material kept its texture after a few weeks of sitting, and it didn't attract pet hair the way a smooth leather surface might. That's a plus for households with cats or dogs. The backrest measures 28.3 inches, giving enough room for most adult users without feeling cramped. The chair also folds into a fairly compact footprint when fully reclined, which matters if you're dealing with a modest living room or a bedroom setup. One hidden trade-off shows up when you look at the assembly process. The chair ships partially assembled, but you still need to connect the power cord, tighten a few bolts, and calibrate the motor settings using the included remote. The instructions are fairly clear, but they do assume a minimum level of DIY confidence. If you're not comfortable with a screwdriver, you'll likely need to call a friend or spend an hour on a YouTube tutorial. For most seniors, that extra step can be a deterrent, especially if the chair is meant to be a move-in-ready solution. The company does provide a detailed installation sheet, and it's not overly technical, but it's something to keep in mind. Another practical weakness is the lack of an integrated USB port or side table. Many competing recliners now include built-in cup holders or charging stations, which can be a real convenience when you're watching TV or using a tablet while you relax. The KswyyuwxgqI model leaves you to manage those accessories separately. If you're the type who likes a side table within arm's reach, you'll need to purchase one independently, adding a small extra cost. On the upside, the dual motor system feels noticeably smoother than the single motor setups you see on lower-priced models. When I tested the lift function, there was no sudden jolt or grinding noise, the movement was quiet and progressive. The massage nodes also work as advertised. Each vibration cycles through a preset pattern that covers the lumbar area, then the upper back, then the thighs. While the intensity isn't as strong as a professional massage chair, it's enough to loosen a stiff back after a morning of chores. The heat function is subtle but pleasant, which can be especially nice on colder evenings. Value for money is where the real question lies. The chair sits in the mid-range price bracket for electric lift recliners, meaning it's cheaper than high-end models with extensive customization, but pricier than basic manual recliners. If you compare the cost to a manual chair that requires you to push a lever, you're paying for the convenience of the lift and the added massage. For a buyer who truly needs that assistance, the price becomes justified because it reduces the risk of falls and the strain on joints. However, if you're simply looking for a comfortable seat and don't need motorized assistance, there are cheaper options that still offer decent cushioning without the complexities of a dual motor system. Who should skip this chair? If you have a very slim frame under 120 pounds or if you're on a strict budget, the lift capacity might be overkill.